Winning a football match takes skill and tactics, but not even the best coaches or players would mind a little bit of luck.
Schommelsberger! Schommelsberger! Der Treffer zählt!
Clint Dempsey is one player who certainly found himself on the lucky side of things during England's World Cup match against the USA. Steven Gerrard had put the Three Lions 1-0 up, and it looked like smooth sailing from there. But not if England keeper Rob Green had anything to say about it. Ironically, Green was selected at the last minute, and it was a choice the England coach would regret, but one Dempsey would be thankful for. Now, Dempsey isn't the greatest striker of all time, and his lame shot at Green's goal proved that. However, in a sheer moment of dumb luck, Green spilled it and let the ball in. Rob Earnshaw also had his fair share of luck with the exact same keeper in a different match. At the time, Green was playing for Norwich, and that was when he experienced one of the saddest days of his goalkeeping career. Not so sad for Earnshaw, as he sneaked up on Green, who wasn't aware of his presence, and tucked the ball away into a wide open net. Just like Dempsey, Earnshaw wouldn't be given a shout among the greatest strikers of all time, but he certainly is among the luckiest. Darren Bent also had his fair share of luck in a football match. This one was against Liverpool, and it was one even the commentators couldn't believe. Sure, deflections off a defender have helped strikers put the ball beyond the keeper, but can the same be said of beach balls? Well, this inflatable object sure helped Bent score against Liverpool, as his shot struck the ball and completely fooled the keeper. This was certainly not one of Bent's best goals, but who would argue it wasn't his luckiest? Well, luck or no luck, scoring a goal is a difficult task. After all, there are 22 players on the pitch and a limited amount of space between the goalkeeper's sticks. This didn't matter during Watford's match against Reading, because Watford didn't even have to score to have a goal awarded. The referee on the day, Stuart Atwell, was the youngest ever in the league, and his youth and inexperience turned out to be a blessing for the beneficiaries of the undeserving goal. Watford had a shot on goal, but it never crossed the line. However, Atwell's assistant said that it did, and the ref had no choice but to award the goal. How lucky were Watford, and how Reading would have wished for VAR technology at the time. One instance that required no VAR was Paul Robinson's battle against the pitch itself. It's true there was a time when England keepers were prone to bad luck, but this one is something straight out of a sci-fi movie. The striker takes a weak shot, it bounces off a patch in the pitch, and sends Robinson the wrong way for the goal. But even though Robinson has had his fair share of bad luck on the field, he can't deny that he's had his lucky moments too. One of those moments came against his opposition keeper, Ben Foster, who misjudged a kick from Robinson, as he let it bounce once and into his net. Another lucky bloke in football is Stan Collymore, whose finish was more mystical than it was superb. The striker miskicked the ball, and somehow it bounces over a defender's foot and over the keeper to find its way into the back of the net. A goal is a goal, but this moment of luck left the whole stadium scratching their heads. Two men who were left scratching their heads after another lucky moment were former Manchester United keeper Massimo Taibi and coach Alex Ferguson. But one man who didn't care was Matt Letizia. Now, most Manchester United fans will not remember Taibi, but that was because he was terrible in goal. He proved this in a game at Old Trafford when he failed to deal with Letizia's very weak shot. And when I say weak, I mean weak. Letizia himself couldn't have struck the ball any weaker with a gun pointed to his head. Everyone expected Taibi to scoop up the shot, but the Italian keeper let it slip by him and roll in for the goal. Unlucky for Taibi, but very lucky for Letizia. Next up is Javier Hernandez, the Mexican player also known as Chicharito. Well, Chicharito is also a known subscriber to Footyscape, so I'ma go easy on him. Think I'm capping, dude? Just hit the subscribe button to see things for yourself. Now, Hernandez was already known as a good finisher upon his arrival at United. He was also fond of scoring goals with his head, and he did just that on this fateful day, but not exactly as he had planned it. A hard clearance takes a wicked deflection off Chicharito's head, and he scores without even trying, although that blast must have been very painful for him to take. One guy who barely depends on luck for his success on the pitch is Cesc Fabregas. The extremely talented midfielder is an expert in not only passing the ball, but controlling the entire match from the middle of the park. But even he too has had his bit of luck, and as long as it led to a goal, then I doubt he'd ever care. His moment of fortune came in a league match while playing for Arsenal against Sunderland. In this scenario, he sees a loose ball, charges down the defender's clearance, and gets a foot to it. Now, guess where the deflected shot goes? Straight in the back of the net. At the time, Arsenal were like England's version of Barcelona, as they preferred to pass the ball into the net. In this case, they did, but not in the way they had planned on the training ground. Once again, Fabregas wouldn't care, and neither would Arsene Wenger or the Arsenal fans. Another lucky player who wouldn't give a hoot how the ball goes in is Adam Cherkas, who must have consulted Fabregas on how he managed to score his lucky dink. Why do I say this? Because he scored a goal that was just too similar to that of the Arsenal man. This is somewhat of a replay, as Cherkas too charges down a clearance, gets a foot to the ball, and watches it lob over the helpless keeper for a goal. You can call him lucky, but considering Cherkas' efforts in charging down the defender, he would argue that in football, you have to create your own luck. Tomislav Piplica is up next, and while this moment was terrible for him, it was certainly a lucky one for the striker who played the easy lob into his path. Did I just say easy lob? Well, it was, except for the fact that Piplica just kept looking at the ball without realizing that he had to catch it. Maybe he remembered at that moment that he left his taps on at home, or maybe he was wondering if he fed his dog before leaving the house. Whatever the case, it took forever for him to snap back into the game, and at that point, it was too late. The lucky striker had scored, but only because Piplica was lost in thought. It didn't stop there though, because after realizing he had let in such a soft goal, Piplica fell into the net like he'd been hit by lightning. Moving on to Jan Lexiaks, the defender who went all out to prove that he could play as a striker. Not that he was ever played as one, it's just that he seemed so frustrated with his defensive duties that his rush clearance, which could also be called a fine strike, found the roof of his own net. He wasn't even under that much pressure to clear, which made it a sheer moment of luck for the opposition and a nightmare for his team. Speaking of nightmares, imagine a coach watching his keeper run with the ball towards his own goal line, while yelling at him to stop. This was the case for Andre Diaz and his legs, who had a mind of their own. Diaz had the ball at his feet, but for some strange reason kept running towards his goal line. It's either his brain was telling him to stop and his legs refused, or the match had been fixed. Whatever the case, the opposition team didn't care what it was. As long as Diaz helps them score a goal, then it's all good. Now, this next moment comes courtesy of Mohamed Salah, who was fortunate not to be handed a straight red card for his horrific challenge on Danilo during Liverpool's Champions League quarter-final match against FC Porto. Liverpool ended up winning the game 2-0, but the result might have been different if the VAR had bothered to take a look at a replay of the incident. The officials probably didn't care to check, as they were distracted by an almost simultaneous incident involving Felipe Luis, who had gone down under Trent Alexander-Arnold's challenge. Now, how lucky were Salah and Liverpool? Definitely not as lucky as the Butcher of Bilbao, cause that guy, damn, he's an animal. And I ain't giving no spoiler alert, so you gotta click this video to check out the dirtiest fouls in football history.